Just close your eyes. Know the peace within. The supreme reality about yourself is within and not outside. Just now, you contain the treasure of the entire manifestation within you, inwardly, not outside. The entire cosmos is within you. The entire universe is within you. Whatever perceived within space as any object, the seeds of whatever perceived within space is also within you just now. The source of entire manifestation is within you, which you are not yet aware of. You are continuously moving outside, seeking solution outside, and getting frustrated outside, not knowing that there's not even an iota of the truth outside. Whatever perceived is not yourself. It is not you. Whatever perceived is only a reflection, not real. You remain so content and peaceful only by going inwardly, because inwardly there's no movement. Entire movement is happening only outside, within space. Inwardly, only the unmoving, unchanging reality is here. You come to know the unmoving reality, the unchanging reality, only through this stillness, which you are now. This stillness is unchanging. This stillness is always here within you, because it is not an object, your own subject. This stillness is prior to object, prior to movement, prior to duality. The truth about yourself begins in this stillness. The truth begins only in the non-duality, not in duality. But you are searching the truth only in duality. Right from waking state till sleep happens, what else are you doing? Only moving here and there, seeking some solution to remain peaceful. Not knowing that the peace is within you always, inwardly. Peace is not outside, because it is not an object. It is your own subject. You contain the peace already. You are peaceful already, but you are not yet aware of it, because you never go inwardly and find out the stillness within you. the unmoving center within you, out of which every moment happens. Only through this stillness, your consciousness wakes up totally and finds out its unborn nature. Just now, you are closing your eyes and knowing the peace within. You know that you are without words. No word is required to know your presence. No knowledge is required to know your presence. Right now, you know that you are without words. This knowing your presence as I amness is consciousness. So your consciousness begins in the stillness and it remains wakeful through the stillness. Through this same stillness, your consciousness merges in the source of awareness and wakes up totally, not partially. Just now, your consciousness is merging in the source of awareness without words. Your consciousness remains more wakeful. The more you abide in stillness, the more the wakefulness is. Just check it for yourself how long you remain peaceful inwardly throughout the waking state. Remaining wakeful for a few minutes may be a beginning, but it is not final. The more you abide in stillness, your consciousness remains wakeful continuously. The more the stillness, the more the wakefulness. The more and more stillness, the more and more wakefulness. Find out how long you remain wakeful throughout the waking state. By abiding in stillness consistently, your consciousness settles down in the source of awareness and remains peaceful and relaxed, free from all movements inwardly. At the same time, your consciousness perceives the entire manifested object in space silently and remains undisturbed. So your consciousness, by going inwardly and knowing the peace and stabilizing in the peace and merging in the same stillness, it gets to know its unborn nature, which is beyond movement. Your consciousness knows that it is beyond form. Just now, only your consciousness creates the form and uses the form just now. Your consciousness, here you means only consciousness, and your consciousness is not your person. You are not your person. You are infinite. To know the infinity only, you are made to close your eyes now. This peace is infinite, unending, and never ending. It has got no beginning and no ending because it is infinite, indescribable. Out of this universal consciousness only, every object is created just now. This stillness, you are knowing I amness through consciousness is not moving. Your consciousness is not moving, and every movement happens out of your consciousness, your I amness. And every movement is not you, it is by the elements. Every movement is by the elements. Every movement is by the electrons. Every movement is by the photons. Every movement is by the quarks. Elements or electrons or photons, whatever the term you use, they are created spontaneously out of light, and due to different variations in the hypothetical combinations of their interactions, and out of their spontaneous interactions, zillions and zillions of objects are perceived in space just now. Every object is in constant movement, greater movement. You do not know. Though they appear to be a fixed shape and volume, they are not same at the same time. Everything appears and disappears at an unexplainable speed. Outwardly, it looks like an object, but inwardly, tremendous movement is going on spontaneously. So no object is static here, because every object is here only due to the movement of the electrons. It appears to be here. Can the truth change itself? Can the truth appear and disappear itself? Can that which appears and disappears be the truth? If you ponder over these lines, you will come to know that none of the objects perceived in space are real, though they appear to be real. You accept all that perceived in space as real because you are yet to know the reality within you. Real cannot change itself. Real cannot appear and disappear. Real means it is ever present, never absent. So you must find out that which is ever present, that which never changes, and that which never appears and disappears. Then only you can say this is the truth. So you cannot find out the truth through objects within space, as every object is nothing but a reflection of the light. They are not real. But the real is within, which is never moving. Just now, you know the stillness within, where there is no movement. Be with this stillness. Stay with this stillness and observe silently. Now, in stillness, there is no object, neither any form, neither any words. This stillness is the beginning of non-duality. Inwardly, and every movement happens out of this stillness, outwardly in duality within space. So this stillness is the gateway through which the duality can be transcended and the non-duality can be known. You are already non-dual. Nothing never happened to you. But to you, every story seems to be real. Every happening seems to be real. Every past also seems to be real, surprisingly. Even the past looks real. Because you do not know the exact definition of what is reality. You give reality only to objects which is constantly changing, not to the subject you knew which is never changing, because you are yet to know the subject you knew. The subject is unmoving, your stillness, your I amness, your consciousness. But seldom you go inward and find out your conscious presence. Your conscious presence is throughout. It is beyond form, beyond time, beyond space, beyond movement. It is not limited, beyond boundaries. But your consciousness, which is infinite, beyond boundaries, beyond qualities, beyond movements, now it knows its presence as I am through a form. Unknowingly, your consciousness accepts the form as itself because it comes to know its presence only through the form. My question is, once you are conscious of yourself and know that you exist as I am, not your form alone is appearing here in space. Along with your form, so many forms appear. So many objects, whether living or non-living, appear simultaneously with your form. So everything is only in your I amness. Everything is only in your consciousness. Once you are conscious, you see so many objects around you, including your form. So every object, including your form, is created just now out of consciousness. This consciousness is not your word. It is prior to word. It is light itself. You are yet to dive deeper to observe the light within. Then only you will accept my teachings totally. Till then, just abide in stillness and get to know from where all these objects happen. Usually, you consider every happening. It is happening here, it is happening there. Every event, you say, it is happening here, it is happening there. Only at the surface level, you are accepting all such things. You never dive deeper to know from where all that happening happened just now, but for your consciousness. Unless you are conscious, how can it describe anything? How can you perceive anything? How can you discuss about anything unless you are conscious? At the surface level, it appears as if something is happening somewhere. There's nothing called somewhere else. Everything is only in your consciousness. Because your consciousness is not a finite area. It is infinite. The entire space is only out of your consciousness. You are an emperor already, but you do not know your richness. You remain a slave. You remain a beggar, not knowing that the entire conscious field within space is only by your consciousness. Still, you accept yourself to be a tiny form with fixed labels, as you are yet to dive deeper to find out what this consciousness is. the very fundamental factor which is responsible for each and every object within space is only your consciousness. Every object arises out of only your consciousness. Only out of the light of your consciousness, every object is perceived. The nature of your consciousness, the nature of the light is only creation, manifestation. Right from quarks, photons or electrons or elements or compounds, whatever the term given, where do they all happen but for your consciousness? And everything is in a greater movement. Depending upon the oscillating frequency, depending upon the speed of their interactions, various objects are perceived here in space. Even quarks or photons or electrons, they are all just movements only. Only out of movements, every object is perceived here. But for movement, there's no object here. But your subject is not moving. Out of the subject, which is unmoving, every object is created, perceived only through movements. Each and every object is perceived in duality. But your consciousness, which is the source of the entire manifestation, is yet to know that it is all from its own consciousness. Everything begins in your consciousness, everything happens in your consciousness, and everything disappears in your consciousness. This also your consciousness never knows. What else you are doing here? Your focus is only outside. Even that focus is not proper. Only at the surface level you are moving here and there. And everything is also constantly changing. Then how can you remain peaceful? Unless you go inward and settle inward. You never know that out of the subject of your I amness consciousness only, each and every object is created and perceived just now. But for your subject, there is no object. Without you, without your consciousness, the world cannot happen. Without you, without your consciousness, the cosmos cannot happen. Without you, without your consciousness, no manifestation can happen. Not even a single object can appear here without your consciousness. You don't know the immense value of your consciousness because you never value yourself. You don't know the immense potential of your consciousness. You don't know the creative nature of your consciousness. So continuously, you remain here throughout the waking state, not knowing what you are. You accept yourself to be a personality and then get stuck there itself. There's no growth at the personality level. So your consciousness remains incomplete at the personality level. So you remain vexed, tensed, frustrated and whatnot because you do not know what this consciousness is. Your consciousness nature remains unknown to itself. Without knowing what you are, without knowing what your consciousness is, you are simply carried away by all the happenings that appear to happen within space at the duality level. To be real, as you are yet to know the reality within. Reality is within, it is not outside. That's why you are made to close your eyes. Because once your eyes are open, everything is constantly moving. Even the present itself is constantly moving. Inhale, after some time, exhale. This is another movement. You are not holding the same breath for 24 hours, and you can't hold also because you are only the observer. In your consciousness, the breathing happens just now. Just your consciousness should know what it is. It remains ignorant by accepting itself as a personality unknowingly. Unless your consciousness meets a realized who have completed the journey by transcending the duality, there's no chance for your consciousness to wake up totally. Partial waking up is not wakefulness. Wakefulness is either total or not. Once your consciousness is totally wakeful, it knows it is free from the dream and it says, nothing has never happened to me. Whatever perceived within space at the duality level is not myself, including the birth of the form till the death of the form, disappearance of the form. The appearance of the form and the disappearance of the form is not myself. I am the constant observer and nothing has never happened to me. This your consciousness will declare once it wakes up totally. But your consciousness never wakes up because it never knows the fundamental basic principle that it is only consciousness. See, the first point itself is missing. Your consciousness should know it is consciousness, but it never knows it is consciousness. Then how can it wake up? How can it wake up? It cannot wake up. It remains sleeping through personality, and one fine day it accepts the form level disappearance as the death, though it never dies. You are ever present here. You are eternal observer beyond duality. You are always in your original supreme state. When are you going to wake up and know this? When you are holding something which is not yourself to be yourself. You accept something which is not yourself as yourself. Then how can your consciousness wake up? It is impossible to wake up at the personality level. At the personality level, dream continues. Only at the conscious level, wakefulness is possible. The first point is your consciousness should know that it is consciousness only. How can it know? Not by saying that I am consciousness. Practically it should know. First point is closing eyes and knowing the stillness within, knowing the peacefulness within. Right now your consciousness knows that it is consciousness. I am settling your consciousness deeper within because I am the source. I know what your consciousness is. So only I can wake up your consciousness because I know what you are exactly. That's why I'm expounding this knowledge. You are already the supreme truth and nothing has never happened to you. All that needed is only a simple wakefulness, which can be done only by going inwardly. But you never go inwardly. How can you wake up? Unless you wake up, how do you know that the death does not exist? Outwardly, birth and death appear to be real, but not so. They are just a dream happening only. Your consciousness should remain conscious. By remaining conscious, it remains fearlessness. By remaining fearlessness means there's no movement. Fear is a movement. But fearlessness is not a movement. Just now, in this stillness, your consciousness is fearlessness. There's no movement. Through fearlessness, your consciousness merges in the source of awareness. Unless your consciousness is fearlessness, it cannot wake up. So the fearlessness is the essential step in this journey. Whom are you afraid of? And there's no person here. And all forms are conscious forms, including your form. Each and every form is made up of zillions and zillions of cells just now. Each and every movement of the cell is only by consciousness just now. Every form, every object within space is by your consciousness. I specifically say it is only your consciousness. Why? Because the consciousness is not separate from yourself. Though you contain everything, though you are already the supreme, though nothing has never happened to you, why you all look so tensed, frustrated, not remaining peaceful? Because you are accepting something which is not real as real. Whatever perceived or not you, you are the observer prior to duality, and you are never born. What is born is only a dream form within space. Consciously, you can wake up from the dream level, knowingly. By observing silently, just now, your consciousness is freeing itself from all that perceived. Your consciousness is ever fresh. Because there's no movement. Only through movement you term it as past or future, something like that. For that which is never moving, for that which is never changing, how can it get old? It remains the same. Through consciousness, you know not only the peacefulness, but also the joyfulness. Only through peacefulness and joyfulness, your consciousness wakes up. Unless you know the peace and joy within you, wakefulness is not possible. I am here only to wake up your consciousness and to explore the highest potential in you right now. In my presence, it is 100% possible to remain wakeful and explore the deathlessness in you. You never die. Whatever that appears to disappear is not you. You are more than the form. In your consciousness, every form happens. And every form is by consciousness. There's nothing separate from consciousness. So your consciousness is the basic fundamental factor out of which every object, every form appears. Why not stay prior to form, prior to object, in your own subject and observe silently, which is preventing you? You contain the subject always, but you miss it because you never go inward. And your subject of consciousness also has to complete its journey totally only by merging in the source of awareness. Out of the light of your consciousness only manifestation happen. So your consciousness is the source of entire manifestation within duality. But the source of your consciousness is the absolute awareness, the eternal awareness, the ultimate observer, prior to duality. You are never born and ever present. You are the non-dual observer. Nothing has never happened to you, even now. Only in your observation, everything appears to happen. Everything appears to move. Everything appears to fluctuate. Everything appears to change. Where? In your consciousness. So why not you find out what this consciousness is, in which every movement is going on at a greater speed, every change is going on at a greater speed, and every movement is going on at a greater speed, and every object appears and disappears at a greater speed. Where? In your consciousness. You remain peaceful even prior to consciousness. But once consciousness happens, once you come to know that you existed, why do you get tense then? Because you do not know what this consciousness is, which is responsible for the entire manifestation here within duality. The duality itself is created only out of the play of the elements in the light of consciousness. But you are the non-dual observer prior to duality just now. You are in your original state, whether consciousness happens or not, whether duality happens or not, whether the world happens or not, whether the form happens or not, you are always in your original state, prior to form, prior to consciousness. Your fall begins with the beginning of the consciousness. So better know what this consciousness is, then you can never fall. The fall is because you do not remain wakeful. Once you remain wakeful, there's nothing to fall here, because whatever perceived is only a dream, no reality. I tell you, you are always the observer prior to duality, and nothing has never happened to you, even now. And whatever you describe about, whatever you discuss about, whatever you explain about is only about the duality show within space. Because every moment is only within space. Beyond space, beyond moment, there's nothing to describe. That is your original state. So you are in the non-dual state already, observing already. You only observe. But in that observation only, your story begins. The entire episode begins. The entire dream begins. The entire show begins. The entire movie also begins. But you are neither the movie nor the dream, neither the duality show, nor anything perceived here as real. When are you going to wake up? You are only observing just now. You are not that observed. Because observed is constantly changing. But you are giving reality to that which is constantly changing to be real. Because you are yet to dive deeply to know the unmoving reality within you. Just now you are in your original state. Nothing has never happened to you. And whatever you accept that this has happened, that has happened, it is not you because they are constantly changing at a greater speed. Even your breathing right now, you cannot describe it. It is going at a terrific speed. Inhale is going at a terrific speed. And the inhaled oxygen is purifying the blood at a terrific speed. The exhale, breathe also going at a terrific speed. Every process is going on spontaneously at a greater speed. In no time, you can't describe it. My question is, who observes all such things? Just now, you only observe. Right from your childhood or whatever it is up to now, you only observe your movie, your dream. No one can observe your dream. And everyone can appear in your dream, but only you can observe the dream. Not knowing and never knowing that you only observe the dream and you are only the observer prior to dream, you are continuously trapped by the perceived dream to be real, to be real, to be real. It is better to wake up, otherwise your sleep will be unending and your stories also will be unending. And though there is no reality, you give reality. Not knowing what is reality, you give reality to unreality. Why? Because your consciousness is yet to know that it is consciousness. Such a simple fact. You are already that consciousness. Only in your consciousness everything is happening. But you never know this secret that everything is happening only out of your consciousness. Because you accept yourself to be a tiny form. You do not know your immense infinity beyond limitations. Just now you are prior to duality, the non-dual observer, observing all that move, appear, happen within duality, within space. Why not you observe silently? By not observing silently and by observing through identifications, you are giving reality to a perceived movie. to the perceived dream. Here you cannot blame anyone because the movie is not by any person. The dream is not by any person. Every movement is out of the play by consciousness, out of the play by elements in the light of consciousness. There are never any persons here. A wonderful play is going on, unknowingly, unendingly. Why not you observe silently and know that you are only the observer and not the observed? I emphasize this because you fail to know even now that you only observe. Who else can observe other than you? Whether it's a dream or movie or the duality show, who else is observing other than you, and who else can observe other than you? Whatever you say, whatever you describe, they all come under only in your conscious field, only in your consciousness. You never know that you alone observe, and the entire play within duality is not you, though they appear to be real, because your consciousness is yet to wake up to know the observer in you. Your consciousness is yet to know the observer because it is always trapped by whatever that is observed in duality. Your consciousness is yet to know the observer is non-dual, and whatever observed is only in duality level. This your consciousness knows only when it remains wakeful of itself. Just now, your consciousness is more wakeful through peacefulness, through stillness. You are the observer prior to stillness, prior to consciousness, prior to movement, and nothing has never happened to you, the observer. And whatever that appeared to happen within the duality space is not real, like a perceived dream. Better wake up and know that nothing happened to you, the observer, and neither whatever that has appeared to happen in duality show is also not real. So it is your consciousness which needs to know that it is only the observer prior to duality. By knowing the non-dual observer, your consciousness wakes up from the perceived duality. Till it wakes up from the duality, it accepts everything to be real. So your consciousness cannot accept my teachings also, unless it wakes up through stillness, which is the beginning of the non-dual. Here I am expounding this knowledge not to any person, but to consciousness within every form. Your consciousness remains wakeful once it listens to these talks silently through stillness and knows its eternal observer state beyond birth and death, and your consciousness wakes up by transcending the duality through stillness and knows that whatever perceived is not real and nothing has never happened to it. It's better that your consciousness goes inwardly and abide in stillness and observe the entire show silently to know the deathless observer, the ever-present observer, the eternal observer, beyond duality. Just now. Your consciousness starts waking up once it starts listening to this talk through stillness. As these talks are coming straight away from the source itself. I am the source. I know what this consciousness is. I know the entire play by consciousness. I know there is no reality in duality. I help your consciousness to know the ultimate supreme reality beyond duality. Just be with me. I am here always. By being with me through stillness, your consciousness wakes up totally and knows that nothing has never happened. Your consciousness knows its deathlessness by merging in me through stillness. And remains in endless joy, unexplainable joy, and indescribable peace. I am here always. Just merge in the source, beyond words, beyond movements, consciously. I am here always. Better wake up and know that you are the wholeness, that you are complete, total, and perfect already.